Reps don't fail if they make their calls. Activity breeds business. Reps fail if they don't make calls. I have yet to find a rep that could prove to me that they were making cold calls fail. Yet to see it in my entire career.
He's a Kansas City-based entrepreneur and a recruitment leader who helps B2B companies build high-performing sales teams and generate inbound leads through smart, scalable email marketing systems. He's the founder of a recruitment agency that helped dozens of businesses grow faster by combining data-driven strategy with relentless executions.
I would say I failed tremendously the first few months. When you were asking the question, why do companies struggle with it? Same reason I struggled with it initially. I followed what everybody else was doing, used what would be called a CRM, and was running traditional sequences and trying to market to people to drive them to a scheduled call. It doesn't work. I turned it around completely and I said, what we need to do is we need to voice and transcribe what we would do on a phone and turn that into an email. That's how I learned how to do email copy. And it worked almost instantly. You learn how to do those two things, you can generate leads for anything. Nothing will beat email straight up on against cost. Nothing.
That's right. The Friday Habit is back and better than ever.
I love the name.
We've always been here. Hey, today we got Kevin Downey with us. And, he's a Kansas City-based entrepreneur and a recruitment leader who helps B2B companies build high-performing sales teams and generate inbound leads through smart, scalable email marketing systems. He's the founder of a recruitment agency that helped dozens of businesses grow faster by combining data-driven strategy with relentless execution. So, Kevin, thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to learn from you today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, man. I got a couple quick questions for you, some, warm-ups. If you could trade lives with any movie or TV character for a week, who are you choosing?
Wow. TV or movie character. I happened to see Lincoln Lawyer last night, so I thought that McConaughey's character was pretty darn amazing. Live out of my car, make 6-7 figures, whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Work out of my car, I should say.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I'm not.
Dude, I'm going James Bond, dude. I'm going James Bond.
James Bond.
Dude, traveling the world, always surviving, getting the girl and the bad guy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'd have to give that some thought. That's a tricky one for me. I'm not as
Okay, what about this? Your go-to karaoke song, even if you can't sing well.
Go-to karaoke song. So there's a really funny story behind that. I got lambasted in California for doing Bob Seger's Turn the Page. And absolutely love that song. And I thought it was hysterical. And like the crowd, the next one came up and did Sweet Caroline or whatever, right? Which everybody knows and is the perfect karaoke sound. I got lambasted for that.
Just because nobody knew the song or what? Like
I think that, and it's just kind of like a little slower, I guess.
Okay,
it's pretty funny. Pretty funny. I got made fun of. I still do to this day.
They're like, "Oh, here's the guy over here."
When people are my friends, when they see it on like Spotify or whatever, if they're listening to it or on YouTube, they send it to me, so they get a kick out of that. So,
all right, you're hosting a dinner party and can invite 3 famous people, dead or alive, or influential people. Who's at your table?
Wow. Gandhi. I would say Nietzsche. And I don't know. I mean, because I have a graduate degree in philosophy, so I'm going to gravitate.
Yeah, okay. Pick his brain.
Probably Einstein, but I mean, there's a whole slew of people in philosophy that I would love to have at a dinner party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know, right? It's like, all right, I'm picking Jesus. That's just the trump card. Just like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that would be one you would consider as well.
It's like, hey, let's get to the facts here.
Sure.
Nice, man. Well, hey, so Kansas City, I've been there a couple times. You got the Missouri side, the Kansas City side. You got.
Yeah, I'm like literally just moved, and I'm a stone's throw away from Kansas now. So I used to live 2 miles into Kansas. Now I live about 5 blocks into Missouri.
Okay, nice. So,
okay, I straddle the line, right?
That's awesome. Did you grow up there?
I did not. I did not. I
Okay.
came here for a sales job when I was pretty young.
Okay.
I was probably 29 and been here 25 years, give or
You
take.
fell in love. That sweet barbecue sauce just kept you
Yeah,
coming back for more.
yeah, it's
You
been good.
know?
Was I mean, I did an entrepreneurial thing pretty short after I got here. I mean, I worked for a few years in the golf business as a sales representative, and then I
Yeah.
went into entrepreneurial stuff, and so just stayed here.
Yeah. What was that?
Yeah.
Was it you kind of were doing golf stuff,
Mhm.
doing sales and things like that?
Yep.
When was it that you thought like, you know what, I should do my own business, or like, why did you even think to do your own business?
That's a good question. I think, I mean, Callaway was the two main firms I worked for were Slazenger, which some doesn't, really exist anymore technically. In worked for them for a couple of years in Indiana. Then I got recruited by TaylorMade and Callaway at the same time. Took the job with Callaway to come here. Great experience, right? And I just think, I mean, I had a newborn, so my wife was 8 months pregnant when we moved here, so that was fun. And as you can imagine, and
Hmm.
I think just being on the road as heavy as you are, because it's not what most, if they don't understand the business, they have no idea. I mean, in the spring, it's 7 days a week for 3 months because you've got demo days, Friday, Saturday,
Oh, right.
Sunday, nonstop on the equipment
And
side.
you're traveling
You're,
to and
yeah, you're
from.
seven
Yeah.
days a week on the road with a newborn. You do that for a few years. I mean, yeah, that makes family less than happy sometimes, right?
Yeah, and
So,
then you're like, okay, is this worth it?
yeah, I think I just eventually wanted to carve my own thing, and I thought there was stuff I could do. Got into real estate, and then eventually, started my agency about 2004, a little over 10 years ago. So,
Okay,
yeah,
nice. So a decade of being in
yeah,
business.
10
And so
years.
when you thought about starting your agency, what were the skill sets or the things that you kind of said, all right, I can focus on doing these things because I had success doing those things like for somebody else?
Yeah, I think baseline at that time, I understood PPC. I was Google Ads certified back in the day, right? And could do B2C, consumer based advertising with that. And so I had a base understanding of that and at the same time sales background. And I just happened to be at an auto dealership shopping and they were short staffed. Infinity here in Kansas City was my first client as an agency.
Oh, nice.
And he said, yeah, I can't find salespeople. And I'm like, I'll try. You let me try. I said, you give me this much for every person you bring on board. And that was how I started. And I don't know. It's
The
just,
rest
I
is
kind of,
history.
it just kind of blended some stuff together, sales, marketing, um, you know, process driven stuff and learning all of those things. And I don't know. I just thought it was exciting and interesting. And then we just went from there.
Yeah. You said your agency is kind of built on outworking and outperforming every other, one out there. What does that
Yeah.
look like in practice, you think?
Yeah. I mean, my people are great. My staff, we're not big, right? We're 7 people. My staff does a phenomenal job. Our director of recruiting does a great job. I actually don't get all that involved in the recruiting stuff. I probably sell it more than anything.
Hmm.
I guide her as needed, for certain situations. But overall, she's been around a long time with me, 6 years, and handles things very well. Um, those guys, I mean, we do work really hard on the marketing side to drive candidates inbound.
Hmm.
And so those guys just work very fast to screen and process people and get in front of a client. I mean, our average client, we want them to be interviewing the person they're going to hire within 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum. If it's taking longer than that, then something's wrong,
Mm.
right? And it, typically they're just being, again, without going down a rabbit hole, a little too finicky about resume and look at some of the wrong things.
Hmm.
But that said, I mean, yeah, we want to outwork everybody so that our deliverable, we always overperform. And it's cliche, but we don't want clients to ever come back and say, we didn't do our job.
A lot of B2B founders struggle with outbound sales. What's the biggest misconception about using email to generate inbound leads? I mean, the thing I feel like I get bombarded with emails.
Yeah.
It's like spam city constantly of like, hey, I look at your agency. Like they try to sound like, oh,
Right.
I just came across your website and would love to get a meet. And I'm like, block.
Yeah. So I started email 8 years ago. So it was all about when we were recruiting, we started to do more sales and business development for B2B. And so I was training reps on cold outreach and doing a lot of that. But then we were seeing, and this is pre-COVID, that getting a hold of people was getting harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I took a look at email and I dug in and learned how to do it 8 years ago. And then kind of went from there. I would say I failed tremendously the first few months I think when you were asking the question, why do companies struggle with it? Same reason I struggled with it initially. I followed what everybody else was doing, used what would be called a CRM, and was running traditional sequences and trying to market to people to drive them to a scheduled call. It doesn't work, right? If you sell really, really high dollar stuff, there's situations where you can make that work because you can get enough ROI. Like I have a client that starts at 300,000 a year and goes up to over, into the seven figures. Wow. They don't need much to make that work, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit different in that case. But in most cases, we're trying to get a response because I looked at it and I said, okay, is this what we would do on a cold call? Like, this is not anything like we would do on a call. We're trying to drive leads. So I turned it around completely and I said, what we need to do is we need to voice and transcribe what we would do on a phone and turn that into an email. That's how I learned how to do email copy. And it worked almost instantly. Like when I started changing the way I did it and then structure so you could send volume, and you learn how to do those two things, you can generate leads for anything. I mean, some things are going to outperform others for sure, but you can generate leads for anything with email. It's ROI. Nothing will beat email straight up on against cost. Nothing, ever, impossible. I mean, you're talking
down the gauntlet.
I mean, you can't. I mean, you're talking a cost factor. I'll give you an example. So let's say now I don't run email for clients. I sold that book of business, right? So I consult and train companies on how to do it and help them build it, right? So if you look at their cost, and let's look at a system like Apollo combined with an email API, you're looking at a hard cost to send 120,000 of $225 in a month. That campaign running 6,000 a day, I have seen generate 41, 42 leads in one day. Now, is that extraordinarily high? Yes, of course it is. But on a day-to-day basis, when we're running stuff on our tech stack, I want on that volume, I want to be getting a lead for about every 1,000 emails. I want to generate 5-6 leads a day.
Yeah, and then again, you're kind of in your business, right? You're not looking for a customer for somebody, right? You're trying to identify somebody who would work for somebody, right?
We are generating leads for our agency at this point. So we're not using it for recruiting. We use it to find clients.
Okay, nice.
Recruiting, we use marketing platforms specifically to target job seekers.
Okay, yeah. And so being in the sales business, I mean, I think one is, as an agency, there's a few different roles that I think that are kind of necessary for stages of growth, right? And I think the first one usually is, and this is what was for me, I don't know for you, but I needed to work myself out of all the client management and communication. So that was like my first role that I brought into the company was, someone who could, focus on keeping customers happy and communicating efficiently and, staying on top of projects. And so that was that. And then, now, here we are, we just celebrated 10 years and, wow. Thank you. Yeah. And so I've worked myself kind of out of all the doing, and now it's more of like, okay, how do I get to the next level? And now I think it is removing myself from the sales, day to day and removing myself. So bringing in somebody who is focused on, reaching out to people and bringing me in maybe for the big close or, presentation or whatever. But as far as like, I feel like a lot of my time now is, okay, I got some leads to the website, like making emails, like sending those, like booking meetings, like going on to calls, like that is starting to feel like, all right, I think I'm only one person. I can only go to so many networking events and do so many things.
For sure.
And I'm still trying to grow and run the company and do all this stuff. So I need to bring somebody in to help me do sales, essentially, And so what does that look like as far as, and I've talked to a few other people and they've said, oh yeah, like you can find somebody who could be commission only and go out there and do sales and whatnot. But, how do you identify a sales rep who's just naturally built? Because sometimes, especially like the cold outreach, that can kind of suck, right? Like you're making phone calls and saying, hey, we do X, Y, and Z. What are you looking for in that person?
Yeah, you've gotten down a rabbit hole conversation there. You're talking about the epidemic problem in B2B sales in the United States, right?
Yeah.
And hiring and all that stuff. And I'm connected with Active Index and consult and strategic advisor for them. So that's all part of this, right? What I would say is if you take a small business, and we deal with small business to mid-market, typically about 500 employees. And a small business comes in and they don't have a sales team yet and they want to grow. So instead of hiring a sales rep, and that is an option, so a sales representative that can do their own prospecting is an option. It's a more expensive option, and commission only is almost always going to fail. There's exceptions to that, and that's a separate conversation, I think. But in general, when we take a company, let's say we were using you as an example, you're a small business, you've got some scalability, you're running some stuff inside the company, you have enough time to do scheduled sales calls, but you don't have enough time to go out and do networking and marketing and all this stuff to generate leads, cold outreach and stuff. I'm going to look at you and say, I don't know that a sales rep is the right hire. I think it's first email infrastructure build and drive leads, and then a BDR, SDR type person to follow up on those leads and do cold outreach to a targeted list to generate appointments for you to do the sales initially. Then that person, you are graduating them to sales and then replacing them on the role they started in, or you then go hire a sales representative to replace you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I haven't really thought of it like that, but it's almost taking those baby steps of the processes of focusing on the generating those appointments, for me to go to, and then that other person's also focusing on, getting the leads, doing some of the cold outreach and things like that, but not completely removing myself from that process just yet.
Yeah, and cold calling is a marketing function. It's not a sales function, right? That's one thing everybody misunderstands. Business development or cold outreach, prospecting by sales reps is still a marketing function. You're not in sales mode until you have a decision maker with a pain point in front of you. If I have a decision maker with a pain point, and the ability to write a check is what we mean by decision maker, then now I'm in sales mode. Until that point, I'm in marketing mode. I'm in business development mode. Should salespeople necessarily be doing their own prospecting? The answer to that question has evolved and changed over time, right? Because now we're dealing with base salaries. Certainly, minimum in the United States, 50, 60,000, but typically 75, 90, 125,000. Do I really want to pay somebody 100,000 to bang the phone and do cold outreach?
Right.
It's going to take them 12 to 18, 24 months to get ROI out of that person.
Right.
If I'm an enterprise company, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right. I can withstand that. But if I'm small business and even mid-market, that doesn't make sense. So now we have to look at that sales team structure and say, okay, if I've got Mark, right, I want to first drive you leads and appointments so that you can do the sales because your conversion rate's going to be really high. And then we add in a salesperson in place of you when the time comes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of following you and looking at some of your stuff, it sounded like you were advocating for sourcing some business development reps and stuff from Latin America. Is that true?
It depends on budget.
Okay, yeah. Why does that model, do you think, do well than like traditional hiring for many B2B teams?
In the United States, it's just cost, right?
Yeah.
People have a lower cost of living. So we're dealing with kids that have come to the United States for college from Central America, Mexico, some. Dominican Republic is a great country for us. Some places in South America, they come to college here. They do online college in the United States, whatever. They may work here for a while. And they go back home. They're homesick, whatever, right? Some are just from there and they've worked remotely in sales and business development, right? Their cost of living is so much lower. You're talking about base compensation for sales and biz dev, remote reps down there. You're talking $1,000 a month, $1,500, $2,000 on the high side. That's really, really hard for a rep in the, you can't get reps in the United States at that kind of rate. So that makes a huge difference. Is it always the first thing we do? No, of course not. But if a client can't afford a rep, at a base salary of $50,000, $75,000 a year in the United States, then that's the direction we want to go, right? Let's go find a rep. Maybe they sell, maybe they just do pure business development and appointment setting.
Yeah. Yeah. How was your process of you said you have 7 employees now, which is awesome because I think a lot of our audience is, people who are solopreneurs kind of running and gunning, or kind of like us here at Brand Viva, I got 3 W-2 employees and several 1099s, and so we're kind of in that. What was your phase of growth? Like you started off with Infinity, you were like, great, I got some consistent income coming in,
clients, auto dealers,
yeah, exactly,
right.
And then what did your journey look like for growth over the past decade?
I mean, I did cold outreach for us to find clients in different spaces, find more that needed telemarketing or sales recruiting help. Back then we didn't call it business development, we called it telemarketers. But I just built our client base little by little, and then brought on a director of recruiting to help on that side and manage all of that. And then ultimately a business development rep that did all of our outreach. And, that person has changed over 10 years a few times, of course, but, it just evolved over time. And then we needed more internal recruiting people, an admin person that kind of works in between me and director of recruiting and the other recruiters. So, and then we have our full-time SDR. Everybody's full-time. Truth be told, I only have one in the United States. I actually have 5 international, myself, and 1 in the US.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome. So You're making it work. We've tried to bring in a few different offshore help in the past for video editing and some other things like that. And it hasn't worked out. There's been a communication barrier and some things like that. I haven't done any work with anyone who does more of like cold outreach or any type of sales or CRM like management or whatever. So I'm curious. I'm like, maybe that's something that I need to look into because again, like you were saying, it's like I can't afford to bring on somebody for 60, 75 grand a year to do these functions. Sure. Like I need that person to either be commission only, so they eat what they kill, and as they bring in, or I could start them off at a small salary and then, work them up based off of the deals that get closed and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I think depending on the role, right? We've recruited historically Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore. Everybody is probably aware of the fact there's a lot of outsourcing, BPOs that have people in the Philippines. Those countries are all good. English is pretty good. Challenge has always been they're on the other side of the world. So longevity for those people isn't always very good if they need to be on the phone. Because eventually if they get families and they're living in a place, right, they don't have houses like the size we do, then, they're working overnight while the rest of
you got kids screaming in the background.
Right. Like the longevity of people, the young people are great. I think the longevity, unless they work in a center, gets a little bit tougher. We have had better luck with Latin America as a whole. Now, depending on what you're looking for, like we certainly have used Upwork before to find people. I've spent a lot of money through there to find people for different things outside of sales and business development. So specifically video editing, graphic design, whatever, web design, so on and so forth, right? Have found people and used people in the US, have found internationally, depending on the level of communication we need to have, that dictates some of what you were alluding to. For sales and business development though, Latin America to me, I mean, I would never go India, to be honest. And overseas being one of the biggest issues. The kids in Latin America are so good. They are so experienced now. They're just not, just unbeatable. Mexico's gotten a little more expensive. So their rates are a little higher. We're seeing base salaries more. They're asking for more like closer to 2,000 to 2,500. So they're creeping up there, but Central America, Dominican Republic, can't beat them. Can't beat them.
Well, and too, it's like the time, right? Like if they're spending 40 hours a week doing that for you for that cost, like you can't beat that, Yeah,
my SDR is in Nicaragua. Leonardo is his name. He does a great job. Young kid, just out of college, not that long, and great English speaking skills. Been to the United States, spent some time here, never lived here. But he's great. And we get 50, recruiting 48 countries, we get about 50 a day. And we get 3 to 5, what I would say, those that we could place per day. We get 3 to 5 for sales and biz dev that we could place per day.
Do you have really good SOPs or systems, like as far as when you're bringing on somebody, to train them and kind of get them onboarded?
Well, for clients, if we're recruiting, because we have 2 models, right? We have our outsourcing team, so the team that's under me that they can outsource inside sales and business development. And then we have the recruiting side where we're placing them with the client and the client deals with them directly. If we're dealing with that, We teach the client how to pay them. We teach clients how to set up a phone number if they need help with that. We run prospect lists for free for B2B clients as part of those programs. And then they onboard the rep really themselves and train them and all of that stuff. I mean, they may ask for my help a little bit, but typically they're training the rep on their sales and business development stuff. If it is a client that they're hiring us as an outsourced sales team, then yes, I am infinitely more involved in not only doing all of that, and we obviously take care of the phone and everything, but we have to build a prospect list, have to train the rep on process if they're relatively new, and also they need to be trained on the client's products and services.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. What have you seen as far as like the essential tech stack right now? Like what are you using? I mean, AI is, I think, coming on board obviously and solving a lot of problems for people, and you're able to do a lot more work with less. What are some of your essential tools that you're using that are effective, especially when it comes to, B2B email systems and automations and stuff like that?
Good question. Wait, that goes back to what you had asked me earlier. I would say first, email tech stack is one of two things. So let's do this first, right? It's Apollo plus email API. That's a brute force tactic system where you can send 6,000 a day, even more maybe now. You have to deal with reputation on the domain, and that's a bit of a challenge. So you're going to get blocked. But just pure brute force, that one is really, ROI is unbeatable.
Okay.
But a long-term tech stack would be more like MailReef, server-based system, combined with SmartLead. Although MailReef is supposedly got their new campaign management system coming out, their own. So when they have that, then you have it all under one thing, and that's nice. That's a server-based system where you're doing what you may have heard of this, where you do on a server, you can send 50,000 cold emails. We would do 100 or 20 domains, 100 email addresses, 25 cold emails per day per email address, 25 warming emails against each. You're spin taxing. Much more involved than the first example I gave, but it has much greater longevity.
Right, yeah. Less bounce rate and flagged and all that kind of stuff.
Just long term, you can hold reputation on your domains that way.
Okay.
Right? So you asked about that tech stack stuff. When it comes to sales and business development otherwise, clients almost all have CRMs.
Yeah.
Not the right thing to use for email marketing to drive leads. They all do it, but they shouldn't.
Yeah. Why is that? Just because you can't get the volume, you can't get the volume
They're
there?
not like I just mentioned, like SmartLead, right? Like you can connect, you have 100 email addresses. Well, you're connecting them on MailReef all together. So they're all part of the campaign, and you're rotating the email addresses as to what's sending what, right? Because they're all sending the same message, and you have a campaign. When you go in a CRM, the CRMs aren't built for that. Your every single campaign is separate. So now I've got an email address at a domain, and most companies, it's the sales rep, and they're sending from their main email address, which they shouldn't do anyway. And they are sending cold emails, and they can only send 25 a day per email address. You're never going to drive leads with 25 emails a day. Even if you send 100 a day, you're not.
Right.
I mean, it takes 500, all things being equal, it takes 500 to 1,500 cold emails to generate a lead, depending on what you have, who you're targeting. And people talk about numbers better than that. I sent over 100 million emails for clients in 8 years. I know what the numbers look like.
Yeah.
And you got to have volume. You have to have volume. And you can't do that with a CRM infrastructure in general. Go High Level maybe is an exception now because they, have that whole partnership thing they did in the white label thing. But generally, CRMs are not built to do that.
Yeah.
So they're not part of the tech stack in that regard. But still, your CRM for the reps, right?
Right.
And keeping track of leads and notes and all that stuff.
Is there one that you particularly like? I feel like everyone gets sucked into HubSpot because it's like a free CRM to start, but then it's like so expensive,
Since I don't use it for email and I work with clients and I get them off of that stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. They're all the same thing. If you're just tracking leads, names, contact names, phone numbers, email addresses, making notes, if you're not using it for, you can send manual emails through it. That's fine if you're following up with a lead or a customer or whatever. It's all the same thing to me. Honestly, our outsource reps, we put everything on Google Sheets. Because it's universally usable. And we don't have to train a client on it. They know what they're looking at. It looks like a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So otherwise, I don't care what kind of CRM clients use. I just tell them stop emailing through it. It's not
How have you pivoted with AI and stuff like that coming on board?
That's so interesting because now that I'm tied in, I'm part of, involved with Active Index in particular, strategic advisor, doing all the recruiting of our strategic advisors. But I don't have an equity stake in the company. That AI is the first time that I have ever seen AI, and I have not really delved into it very much, other than spin taxing. That was the first time I ever used ChatGPT, and I was like, oh yeah, that actually works. In general, I haven't delved into it until I got to Active Index and I saw what its AI can do, and it has a name. It's called Aria. Absolutely mind blowing what it can do for a company. It's unbelievable. But that's involved in people management and recruiting and matching people to jobs. When it comes to sales and business development, I'm careful with AI and what you would do with it, because for me, I tell clients, once you have generated a lead, I do not want an automated system to ever connect with that person again. I don't want any automated email other than maybe your newsletter stuff. That's fine. It's
Right.
anyway, but you can send it. It's fine. Other than that, I want no pretending that you're a person trying to connect with someone when they were already a lead. If they're already a lead, you need to get a hold of them with a person. Sales or business development needs to get a hold of them. That's it. I don't want to see any automated communication. I don't want to see any AI. Too much risk that you're going to screw up the messaging and make yourself look foolish, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then just turn somebody off because they just know that it's like, okay, this is a robot emailing me, not an actual human, and they're just going to turn off, and you've kind of lost that.
And you alluded to something interesting earlier. You talked about like they overthink in their marketing emails, for example, going back to that. Because other than volume and the structure to be able to send the volume, the other key component of email was learning how to write emails that were the same as what we do on a cold outreach. And I mentioned that. So it's just text. It's a block text only, and we're trying to keep it under 100 words. And it's very simple. Johnny, do you have this pain point? If you do, I can help you solve it. Maybe a little bit about this is how. This is what I want you to do next. I want you to reply, and I'm going to send you this. And that's our bait. We are trying to identify decision maker and pain point and keep the health of our email infrastructure high. That's why we need replies, for those two reasons. If we just market to them, we're never getting a response, so that doesn't really do anything for us unless they schedule a call. And then beyond that, we're not helping our infrastructure because we're not getting any replies, which is the highest engagement you can get. A click is not the same thing as a reply. It's not even close.
Right.
So do you see what I mean, though? We had to go down a different path in the way we thought about email, and I had to learn by doing and failing. And then I was like, well, that's not what we would do on a call. Let's do what we would do on a call.
Right.
Yo, Johnny, I got this. You interested? If you are, I got some stuff. I'll send it to you. I'll send you my calendar. You take a look, and then we'll jump on a call. And then if I've got a sales rep, I want them to dig in. We call it, while I have you, while they're sending something, I then want them to dig in and gather intel and move the needle. For sure. I want aggression there. But that said, that's our process in a nutshell for all B2B business development.
Yeah. What do you think is one small tweak a company could make to their current outbound system that would immediately improve like their response rate?
Well, other than email infrastructure and volume, doing it correctly, proper messaging with email, and then with reps don't fail if they make their calls. Activity breeds business. Reps fail because they don't make calls. I have yet to find a rep that could prove to me that they were making cold calls fail. Yet to see it in my entire career.
So it's just laziness that's getting in the way.
I don't want to do it. It's too
fear
hard.
Of dialing.
I mean, 20 years ago, we could get a hold of 20 freaking people in a day, right? Excuse my language. But now you're talking to 5 DMs and decision makers in a day, right? Maybe 6, maybe 7. I mean, 5 to 10 is a normal number now. I mean, that's a grind. Sales reps don't want to do that. They want inbound leads. They want to LinkedIn their way to leads. They want to email their way to leads, none of which will work because they can't do the volume. If you're going to do it digitally, it has to have volume behind it. So reps shouldn't be doing that. That's what I train clients on. I coach them on all the time.
So they need to be making calls?
Boots on the ground or get on the phone. One of two things. If you're not going to do it, see you later. That's it.
Okay. Interesting. That's good to know. I mean, it's good to hear that because I feel that people you hear like, oh, calls don't work, you know, all this stuff. And you're saying, no, the data says that if you make these many calls that
believing is seeing is believing, right? They want to believe that it doesn't work because they don't want to do it. So that perpetuates the thought, right? It works. If it didn't work, we wouldn't have so many outsourced agencies that do it for clients, and a lot of them do fail. But at the end of the day, that's a fail of process, targeting, not training the reps well enough, all kinds of things. But it always works. I can't. What does Leo book? Probably for me, a call to 2 a day. At his cost factor, it's ROI like crazy on that. That's great. Right? Is it always great? No. Some months are better than others, but like you can't just don't tell me that that activity doesn't breed business, because it does. It's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. And I always try to encourage people to get out, put yourself in positions to be seen and to be heard, and be just consistency over a long period of time produces results.
Yeah, and I don't have this talent, to be honest, but certainly face-to-face and speaking engagements and getting in front of groups has a lot of power, right? At Active Index, certainly that's a lot of what our successful strategic advisors do. In sales in B2B, there's a lot of times that would be really good practice for a rep, right? But don't underestimate boots on the ground for certain things. There are certain times. Do we want a sales rep that's making $100,000 a year to sit there and be doing cold calling and boots on the ground prospecting? Ideally, no. Ideally, what I'd like to do is I'd like to layer them with a Latin American BDR to sit there and do cold outreach and set them up on appointments so they're in front of prospects all day, every day. That's what I really want.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes companies just don't like that. They want the rep to do their own cold outreach. So and there's nothing wrong with that as long as the rep will make the calls. But last thing I was going to say on that is the solution for a client 3 weeks ago now, was their reps weren't making calls. And they didn't know, the owner was a little afraid to try to push the envelope on that. And I was like, well, none of them are making their calls. You only have 2 out of your 7, 8 reps making their number. Like, got to do something. And so I said, well, whatever percentage of their book of business is full. So let's say they can take 100 customers and they got 50 customers. I want 4 hours a day that's blocked, that they don't check email, they don't do anything else, they just do cold outreach. Because if we're only 50% full as a customer base, right, then I only need 50% of my day to deal with my customers, right? Logically?
Yeah.
Well, what are we doing the other 4 hours of the day? So
money for nothing.
If America, we don't need to go down the socioeconomic political rabbit hole, but the reality is, you want to save your job,
get to work, go to the office.
you better find something else to do if you don't want to do cold outreach in B2B, right? And unless you have a book of business, if you have a full client base and you're dealing with customers and you're a farmer at that point, great. But that's not the case. Almost all the recruiting we do for B2B are sales reps that are reps that are going to have to do prospecting. I would say 9 out of 10. So better get going.
Yeah.
Because clock's ticking. Otherwise, you're going to lose a job, right? I hate to say it that way. It's not
Kevin dropping the hammer. He's just a tough guy over here.
Mean, but the reality is that's what we need reps to do, right? Like, you're not pushing paper. You're not doing a admin function. You're not a task manager. You got to go out and get business, right? If that's part of what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that's your responsibility in your job. It's not an option. It's that simple.
It's not an option. Right. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Not an option.
Well, hey, if people want to connect with you and get in touch, what's the best way?
Yeah, kevinmdowney.com is the website. Has the link to YouTube channel, calendar, and Active Index assessment, which they have to try. It is awesome. If you haven't taken it, I'll send it to you. You've got to take it.
I haven't taken
blown
it.
Away.
Okay.
Blown away.
What does the M stand for, Michael?
M stands for Michael. Very good.
Okay, nice.
Very good.
All right, and I always love to leave people with one bit of advice. Starting Monday morning, what's the one thing they can start doing to better themselves or grow their business? What are you going to say? Monday morning, start doing this.
Figure out how you're going to generate leads if you're not doing it already. Figure out the solution to that problem. Because if it's not necessary for you now, it's going to be necessary sooner or later.
Yeah.
So got to build a system. Got to build a lead gen system. First thing in B2B.
Build the lead gen system.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Go to thefridayhabit.com. You can find show notes for this episode. You can get links to our websites and ways to get in touch. At the bottom of the page, you can download our guide to the Friday Habit system. That'll show you how to set aside one full day each week dedicated working on your business instead of always in your business. You can hit us up at hello@thefridayhabit.com. And until next time, remember, live every day like it's Friday.